Whatever happened to predictability? The milkman, the paperboy, evening TV. You miss your old familiar friends, but waiting just around the bend. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a heart, a hand to hold on to. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a look of somebody who needs you. When you're lost out there and you're all alone, a light is waiting to carry you home. Everywhere you look.
Hello and welcome to our first edition of the 2019 Kerwinsville Tide Talk.
When our teachers first told us about this project, we were a little skeptical about the overall process.
Even once we got into our topic, we were even more nervous. However, it all changed when we started researching.
It took us down a long journey into researching, and it finally paid off.
We've been asked to identify the 3 most vital medical innovations from 1900 to 1975.
These innovations have saved a combined 1.2 billion lives.
That's roughly 25% of the entire world.
That's insane to think about, because without these 3 inventions, a quarter of the world would be missing.
Yeah, it is. Many tests were done to perfect these inventions.
What do you mean?
Well, for example, insulin was first tested on dogs. It wasn't until around 1920 was it actually tested on a human being.
Really? I couldn't imagine someone doing that to my dog.
Well, the test on the human being was a female diabetic. She at the time was only 45 pounds, and after 5 weeks of treatment, she gained 10 pounds and tripled her calorie intake.
Who would do that?
Frederick Banting and John McLeod. McLeod was the lead researcher, but often gets forgotten in the history books.
That is like when songwriters get copyrighted because they have used a similar beat and rhythm as other musicians.
Exactly. I actually have a personal connection with diabetes because my brother's a diabetic. Without insulin, he wouldn't be able to live.
That's cool that you have a first-hand experience.
Yeah, it makes it even more important to me.
The topic I chose was the discovery of the polio vaccine. Poliomyelitis was a highly infectious disease that can cause paralysis.
Was it ever active in America?
The first outbreak of polio in America was in Vermont during the summer of 1894, when there was 132 reported cases.
Well, President Roosevelt had polio, didn't he?
President Roosevelt contracted polio in 1921 and was very public with his diagnosis. He felt that people could relate to his struggle, and it made him seem like an everyday person.
Well, how did he cope with his disease?
He opened a mineral bath in Warm Springs, Georgia, after learning of its benefits to people with polio.
It seems like he really wanted to do what was best for the American people.
Yes, he did, and so did Jonas Salk.
Who's Jonas Salk?
Jonas Salk was a man who created the first successful polio vaccine in 1952.
Well, where did he do his work at?
His work was based out of the University of Pittsburgh, but he tested his vaccine as he traveled the country.
How and where did he test it?
Early on, he performed many small tests around the area of Pittsburgh, but his largest tests included 44 states and around 1.8 million people.
How did this all come to be?
Salk and his team gave around 440,000 people one or more injection of his new vaccine, while 210,000 were given a placebo shot, and finally about 1.2 million kids were given nothing and used as a control group.
Did the results show anything?
The vaccine was 65% successful against poliovirus 1 and over 90% successful against virus 2 and 3.
Boy, he really allowed those children to live their full life.
The creation of this vaccine kept the next generation of Americans safe and led to many lives being saved.
Yeah, that's cool. Did you hear that knock at the door?
Yeah, let's go see who that is.
How about we take a break, and when we come back, we're going to bring on Mara Bono.
Here's a quick word from our sponsors.
Boy, did you see that Pirates game last night? I can't believe they lost 9-1. They're so frustrating.
No, I don't watch soccer.
What? Erica, are you okay? Why are you shaking?
I'm not you. Are you hungry? Have a Snickers.
Better?
Better.
Welcome back, everybody.
We would like to welcome Mara Bono, an AP Bio student of Miss Berry, to the table.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Mara, we understand that you've studied blood transfusions.
Yes, I've learned not only biology itself, but also the human body.
What did you learn?
I learned that before the blood system was fully created, they would experiment on other people.
Were there ever any failed attempts?
Yes, they would inject a person with a random blood type and see the reaction it had on the person. If it was a wrong blood type, it would congeal inside the person and they would die.
Who did this and when did it happen?
At the beginning, they were not normally successful and often resulted in death. However, it all changed in 1840 at St. George's School in London. Samuel Armstrong Lane and Dr. Brundle performed the first successful blood transfusion.
That is crazy to think that getting a transfusion back then would either result in death or success.
It is crazy to think that stuff would not be allowed in today's world. It's so inhumane to test on other people when you have no concept of what will happen.
Sometimes I'd rather not know things that happened in the past.
Yeah, when you learn, you realize that you didn't want to know that and that why it's been a secret.
In today's world, it would not be allowed to be done because we have strict health guidelines. Back then, they had no concept of what was right and wrong.
Even medical procedures that are simple in today's world were never anything but when they were first created.
Though we started as skeptical, much like the creators of these inventions, we learned from our mistakes and a little research and understanding. We were able to perfect our presentation that was brought to you today.
Thank you for tuning in to our 2019 Tide Talk.
Yes, thank you very much.
Tune in next time for another edition of the Tide Talk.
Hello, and welcome to our first edition of the 2019.
But I like the pencil.
We got a little bit more nervous researching with. I messed up.
Yes, I've learned a lot of, not only about
Bye-bye.
Yes, I've learned
I've learned not only.
I learned not only biology itself, but the human body as well.
And the entire world.
That's insane.
Sorry.